Honda is reportedly suspending its plans to build a $15 billion electric vehicle plant in Ontario indefinitely. A Japanese media outlet, Nikkei, reports that Honda is freezing this project as a result of low U.S. demand. Prime Minister Mark Carney says there is no announcement to make on this today, but Mark Carney argues foreign investment is still pouring into Canada.
It's the moment to be bold, to build big, to have confidence, move forward, open up. That's what we're doing, and we'll continue to get that investment despite the efforts of the Americans.
Joining me now to discuss all of this is Karim Bardeesy. He is the Parliamentary Secretary to Industry Minister Mélanie Joly. Karim Bardeesy, it's good to see you again, sir. Thank you for being here.
Good day, David.
So Honda announced last May it was suspending this plant for 2 years. Now it sounds like, according to these reports, it's off indefinitely. What clarity can you bring on the state of this for us?
So this is a media report. Minister Joly and officials have been in touch with Honda today. And they've communicated to us that they'll be sharing more about their medium to long-term plans in the coming weeks. Okay,
so it is clear something could be up here, that maybe the 2-year delay, because they did say, to be fair to Honda, at least 2 years. So it's, I'm sure it doesn't sound like you're expecting good news from Honda in the next little bit.
You know, we're in regular conversation with them, and obviously the news reports today prompted an outreach. But what I can say is that the existing plant in Alliston is a very popular one. It's at full capacity. Over 4,000 employees are working there and producing some very popular vehicles, the CR-V and the Civic. And again, I think they're going to say more about their plans in the coming weeks.
Okay, in the coming weeks. So sometime in May, before the end of May? I mean, what do we know about specific? What does that mean on a calendar, Mr. Bardeesy?
That's going to be for them to share. In the meantime, we're continuing with our auto strategy, which has a number of pieces that are going to hopefully bring in and are doing the work of bringing in more investment in protecting workers and helping with the electric vehicle transition.
Okay, but you know, the auto strategy, the Canadian auto strategy, which you launched in February, a series of measures designed to transform the auto sector into something much more EV friendly. There is a series of big industrial agreements reached under the previous Prime Minister's government. They're either paused, off, delayed, or under review. It's like the whole strategy right now is dangling.
Actually, a lot of the investment is going on quite well. So in Windsor, the Nexstar plant has recently produced its 1 millionth battery cell. The PowerCo facility in St. Thomas has broken ground, and there's lots of excitement around that. And there's lots of other investments in the electric vehicle supply chain and charging. So the direction is actually quite positive.
Right, but the Honda plant, it was meant to preserve the 4,200 jobs at Alliston, if I remember the language correctly, and add another 1,000 jobs when it expanded. We've seen what happened with Northvolt. There is the closure in Brampton. Like, these are not great times for the auto sector because of the trade disruption, and a lot of this was designed to offset it. And I know there's a hope to try to recruit even more Asian car makers to Canada. But if Honda, which already has a presence here, can't commit to a previously announced plan because of all the uncertainty, I mean, what does that say for the ability to get Hyundai, Kia, and others to come here at scale?
Well, as you mentioned, this is definitely a challenging time for the global auto sector because of the U.S. trade action. So what we're doing is we're controlling what we can control, which includes bringing in more investment. And so there's actually been new investment, as I mentioned, not just at Nexstar and in Windsor and the PowerCo facility in St. Thomas. We actually have new investment at GM in St. Catharines. There's an ongoing investment by Ford in Oakville. Stellantis has its third shift underway at its plant in Windsor. So there are things that are going in the right direction, but yes, the sector is challenged because of these global shifts. And what we're committed to doing is really trying to help protect and preserve the jobs that are related to the U.S. trade side, while also helping expand investment and expand trade towards Europe. And that is starting to work. Our trade, for instance, our export trade to Europe is up 31%. And manufacturing in Canada, auto manufacturing in Canada is up from March to February over 20%. So these are some encouraging signs, but yes, there are some headwinds for sure that are entirely due to the trade issue.
But do you think the government maybe overestimated the appetite and the demand for these electric vehicles? Because you know, it hasn't gone as hoped. I know incentives went away at the federal and provincial level, only to come back at the federal level. But did you make the wrong bet when you made it in the last couple of years?
We know that the general direction globally is definitely towards electric vehicles. So, for instance, we expect around 10% of electric vehicles sold in 2024, but estimates are going to be that that's going to be over 40% by 2031. Europe just has its first month in which electric vehicle sales exceeded internal combustion engine sales. And we know that rebates are a key part of the interest that comes in purchasing an electric vehicle. That's why we brought back the rebate, and we think that is now available. Canadians can make themselves themselves available that $5,000 rebate. Rebates combined with more charging infrastructure help reduce the range anxiety. You can get interest in both apartment buildings and on highways, and we think we're building towards the future that Canadians and the world wants.
Okay, in the conversations and the outreach with Honda today, I know they said they'll have something to announce in the next couple of weeks. A year ago, people were given assurances that the 4,200 jobs at the plant there would not be affected by this delay. Does that assurance stay in place today? Are those 4,200 jobs safe?
Well, look, it's a very strong plant. It's one of its top performing plants in the world, and it's also at full capacity right now. So, we're very confident about the footprint that is there. As a country, we invited Japanese automakers to this country over 40 years ago, and now in Canada in 2025, 75% of the vehicles made in Canada were assembled by Honda and Toyota. So the presence of those companies in Southern Ontario in particular is a testament to the quality of the work and quality of the workforce and the quality of the plants. And those are anchored in very significant capital investments that those companies made over decades and including recently.
Karim Bardeesy, Parliamentary Secretary for Industry Minister Melody Joly. We appreciate you taking some time today. Appreciate it, sir.
Thank you, David.
All right, we're going to stay on this story. Joining me now to react to this report is Flavio Volpe, President of the Automotive Parts Manufacturers Association. We were fortunate enough that he was in town today. Flavio, always good to see you. Thanks for being here in person. Always good to see you too. What are your thoughts on this? I mean, it sounds like something is coming from Honda in the next couple of weeks, according to Mr. Bardeesy, and the fact that they didn't knock down this report doesn't sound like it's going to be a denial.
Well, look, a lot of those investments, the electric vehicle investments, including this one from Honda, which at the time was the biggest single investment by the company in its history, and the single biggest industrial investment in Canadian history, was that the Americans were going all in on EVs as well. There was a purchase incentive.
Inflation Reduction Act was
Inflation Reduction Act was going to pay for all the batteries, and they had a very tight, high curve on their EV mandates. And Honda does very well with the American market. That's where the volume was. So not a lot of surprise today at seeing that report out of Nikkei. Yes, of course, we need to hear from Honda to see if Nikkei is wrong. But my instinct is we're going to hear confirmation there. A couple of things, and I think Karim said it best with regards to Alliston. That is probably the single biggest industrial employment site in the country. They make and sell the most popular car in the country there. It's a Civic.
Right.
It's not an EV, it's not part of that transition, but there are hybrid versions that'll get there. These companies are not charities, they're for profit, they're not state-owned like the Chinese. So they have to be able to find a market, predict a return on it, and then justify the investment. In this envelope here, they're probably hemorrhaging $4 billion a year on new tariffs. So the flexibility to be speculative, and the Japanese are never speculative, but the flexibility isn't there.
Right, so the cash flow, the excess cash flow that you would want for sort of an expansion to future-proof your production lines for future markets, it's just not there. The liquidity isn't worth it right now with all the uncertainty.
Yeah, look, we don't share the opinion of the White House on electrification. I think they're creating an island that's tough for us to navigate as Canadians, because you can't sell these cars across oceans. And the rest of the world is going there. The one disappointment is that if we don't go there ourselves and we don't make them ourselves, the option is Chinese, and there's no Canadian content there. We're having this big debate about the Chinese EVs coming into the Canadian market. I just came back from Washington for 2 days. I had to explain 150 times that it's a small part of the market. We're expecting in return investments in manufacturing. The one thing that makes me sad about a possible decision like this is that helps to anchor a supply chain.
Yes. And
make the business case for the critical minerals we say we have. Hey, by the way, Honda's going to buy a bunch. And I'm very happy. Karim was talking about PowerCo, and we spent some time recently talking to PowerCo. That's on, and so is Nexstar in Windsor. But Nexstar in Windsor is finding different markets to sell batteries to while we wait for the EV OEM customers.
Well, this is the thing. It was going to be a whole ecosystem, right? That we'd have the critical minerals, we would build the batteries, it would go into the domestically made cars, and it'd be sold into the market in North America to help everyone stay competitive with the Biden industrial policy and electrify the fleets to help meet the climate targets. Now we've had like Bright Drop go down. We've had a few things fall apart here, and Trump is aggressive. I mean, they're paying people to cancel offshore wind production and go back to fossil fuels. So I know there was government exposure disclosure on this of $5 billion combined, Ontario and the feds, but that's only if they broke ground and it was tax incentives for the investment in the equipment. If the project goes ahead, there's no loss, right? It just, you lose the economic opportunity that you're hoping on here.
Yeah, that's right. And I think a lot of people are trying to make hay of that today or trying to figure that out today. This is an apolitical decision, and nobody wins when we don't get that new production. I'll say this about Honda. You know, they've been here 40 years. They were the bank of the Blue Jay, the official sponsor of the Blue Jays for years. They're in the community, and we've had a bunch of crises along the way. 9/11, financial crisis, COVID. They never laid anybody off. They never stiffed any suppliers. They've kept that footprint because they make smart investments. And I don't represent them, but I represent the companies that sell to them. And I can tell you that all of those consider Honda the bellwether customer, and the one that really had the most mature outlook on electrification. And this is unfortunate.
You know, just as a final point though, Flavio Volpe, like this was, you know, a big one that they were counting on as an anchor for obviously the trade uncertainty, the tariff uncertainty, what's going on with Donald Trump, with still 3 years to go, is a big reason for this. It is tough to see these sorts of big, large-scale industrial developments in Canada until there's some sort of resolution on the Canada-US as it comes to auto, is it not?
Yeah, well, the Prime Minister talks about let's do the things that we control. Well, one of the things that we control is defense spending, and he announced $81 billion in incremental spending over the next 5 years to meet our NATO targets.
Right.
Yeah, you saw last week an agreement that the industry made with Hanwha, one of the bidders on the submarine side. Should they win that bid, we've got them to agree to work together with the auto sector to do ground-based systems. Right. And it'll be a Canadian majority-owned and controlled enterprise, and it doesn't replace automotive. We're in the auto parts business, but it's the equivalent of having another automaker show up, and so it's not as sexy as EVs, and certainly not part of that global move there, and it doesn't help pull minerals out of the ground. But it does give really stable, bankable work, especially with MROs, to Canadian suppliers. So we hope that that's going to be one of those opportunities that Canada creates for itself.
No, look, finding a way to put a floor under the anxiety of your suppliers and the people Lana Payne represents at Unifor and all these things, like you can see the good in that. But am I being too pessimistic when I say that a lot of these things may not go ahead as intended 3, 4, 5 years ago until either Trump leaves or this is resolved?
No, you're being realistic, and that's why we've got to find other opportunities for diversification. You put 10 out there and see if you can sink 5 of them.
Okay, Flavio Volpe with the Automotive Parts Manufacturers Association. I always appreciate the time, sir. Good to see you in person.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.